Hi folks, welcome to IMB Magazine. My name is Clive Forth from MTB Skills and you're joining us for the Skills and Technique feature. Each issue we're going to be looking at different techniques and the core skills to riding mountain bikes. So sit back and relax and enjoy.
Hey, welcome folks, here we go. So we are entering old age, it's official. This is issue 60. Not sure if that means we're 60 years old. However, I do feel like that. I'm 60 years old some days on the bike. So we're now in drumline rig. We're going to introduce camber. So if you've read the feature, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you've not read the text, don't be lazy just by watching the video, get in amongst it and read the text as well. So cambers everywhere in our world. We'll get what we call positive camber, the shapes that are working with us, the berm type shapes, and we'll get what we call negative camber, so the stuff that is off camber working against us. We're going to be using all of our technique, and this is all about progressing the core technique from the previous features. If you're only just joining us, get up to speed, go back through the older issues, read those features, and a lot of the lingo and what we're on about from now on will make more sense. So how are we progressing our technique? What techniques is it that we are progressing? Well, all of them really. The fundamental things of vision, body position, footwork, the speed control through the section. We're going to have to hone those skills, really sharpen them up as we get exposed to more extreme and severe terrain. When I mean extreme and severe, we're talking narrower, steeper, both up and down, as well as chunkier, so a gnarlier trail surface, a rougher trail surface. But when we're getting into dealing with cambers, little subtle adjustments in your body position and your footwork in particular can really make the difference between getting the grip and not getting the grip. The section we're about to ride now, vision plays a key in here, as it always does, keeping the head up and letting the eyeballs drop to check that you're still on target. And we're going to be passing as we're benched in this hillside on this piece of trail. This is classic section. We're at Drumlander Castle, don't forget, some great twisty twiddly trails here. If you're up in the borders area, come and ride them. We've got sections that are going to work against us, off camber, roots at funny angles in that negative off camber position. As we turn back into the hillside on a benched piece of trail, we're going to start to get positive stuff that works with us. So it's very easy to use those positives to carry and maintain speed, and they're instantly thrown out into the negatives where you've got to work much harder. So adaptation of line choice, getting the lead foot set up, using the hips, leaning the bike to get the tire on edge are all going to be things that you'll see in these clips. And we'll go through a few key pointers section after section as we make a bit of a mini short abbreviated lap of drumland rig this afternoon. Great, so you've just seen the footage of me riding through. Speed does dictate an awful lot about how we approach and ride a section of trail. I've been working with different people of different ages, male, female. They're approaching trail at slightly different speeds. So one rider in here might not have the same pace that I'm carrying to get up high across the off-camber routes and to straight line this out. They may just be that bit slower. There's lots of roots and slippery things before this section of trail. And if they're a bit slower, then they may be better coming slightly the long way round around the outside. So, you know, progression, it's all about experiencing those things and being able to make those dynamic decisions as to what you do when you get to the section. What we're looking for is avoiding the slip points, clearing those, looking for the grip in between. And when I say we're benched in the hillside, that's how this trail's been made. It's sort of hugging the bank here, and so we get things where we're turning around the hill, they're working negative off camber against us, and we get stuff the next corner down turning up into the hill. So by straight lining this corner, I can push out wide over there, use the banking, push up that, get some drive down off of it, and keep my momentum and pace flowing through the next section of trail. But we're working with cambers everywhere, and we're trying to lean into them to get grip, to push off of, to work out of them. When they're negative or off and there's a potential for slip and slide, we're using the hip and just adjusting our body position, or even putting in a little hop to try and eliminate that slip point as well. So there's a lot more going on in the detail of the footwork, the body position. So yeah, go out and have a play with it, have a practice, and enjoy some of the footage coming up. We'll pick some other sections to have a look at as we progress. Right, so going back to what we were talking about in the intro about the trail scouring out and getting worn out, and we've got cambers everywhere that we're working with. This is a classic section in this corner where obviously erosion's happened and the trail's now down here, having once been up here. So we've got something over on this outside edge which is going to do us a favour and be supportive, and we wanted to be looking to push into that. And we've got this inside edge here which, if we start getting on that inside edge with the wheel, is going to bulldozer. So when we're talking about contact patches, and how much the bike wants to bridge as it steers and turns, it's good to get an understanding of that for these scenarios as well, because if I don't give myself enough clearance, my back wheel is going to be on this inside edge getting kicked off of that. Let's have another look at another corner which has got a similar thing going on. It's a bit more subtle, and we'll see how the bike can possibly break away if you get on the inside edge. So the devil really is in the detail, and quite often it's hard to see with the human eye down here, and you feel it through the wheel more than actually see it. So I don't even know if the camera's going to pick it up particularly clear for us, but there is quite an obvious supportive edge on this outside. This positive camber we can lean into and push into, and if we get anywhere down here near where the vegetation is, that's sloping inboard, so that negative camber, that off camber is working against us, and I want to slide the bike. It's a classic though, the corner's long and easy in its radius, and it's not particularly quick, so the temptation is to get out high, use that support up there and about where I'm stood, but then as we get further down into this corner, we want to run to the inside edge, particularly if it's got a tight right hander after it down there, and that's when we're going through that dished part. Now you can hardly see it with your naked eye, but if you start to pull too tight towards the inside on the exit of this corner to be on the outside and the entrance to the next corner where those two exit and entrance points overlap, then what happens is you start to just feel the bike creep away from you, wants to run across. So that's the time where sometimes it's better than trying to get up on there. You can run down the center of the trail and run almost a bit deeper into the corner before you push back out wide again. So it's this whole slow in, quick out, pushing out wide on the way into the corner when we're dealing with full line stuff, and then yeah, exit in the corner and push you back up the hill again, drop the rinse and repeat. Right, so that's brilliant. We've absolutely, and it's humorous because we've not over-egged this and done this on purpose, but I'm trying to demonstrate this subtlety in the little cambers that are going on there. So we did the first run and I sat quite far out, quite broad, and it felt good, it felt gripped up. Admittedly, we're not pushing, we're not trying hard, we're just rolling along, riding a real steady pace for the sake of doing these corners at the moment. But then the second run, I said to Dan on the camera there, oh look, I get low and you can see up into it, and you might see a little bit more of this dish shape. This is where the water's been sat, so I know anything over there is going to be working off camber. Now I did over-egg it a little bit, and I said I'll try and sit on the edge of the vegetation, so I am expecting a bit of soil and so on, a bit less grip, but it's all round, worn stone from the rain that's been running down, and it's probably all old riverbed stuff. But so I came in, high line again on the way in, and cut in a little bit tighter, and as you saw, I had to have a foot out because I got the bulldozer on the bank. Now that's really the ideal line, is to get that hard over so that I'm wide into this corner behind Daniel now, into the right hander there. But you try and do it and you're just on the bank, and it's such a minute little camber, and obviously yeah, it's a bit green today, but even bone dry conditions, it still wants to do the same thing. It really wants to push and slide the front wheel out. So I'm actually better to run a little bit more center of the worn line and a little bit over to this edge here where it's still cambered in. Very, very subtle cambers, but they make all the difference to the grip factor. I could have gone so much quicker than that and stayed on this outer edge using that very minuscule camber to give me that support than I did on that last run there. So this is an exact example, completely not set up for the camera, of micro cambers and how they really come into play and how they can affect your ride line and the outcomes of the grip and so on. We've come into that last corner in that last clip. We're now a few more meters down the same bit of trail, traversing the hill, and we've ended up in a real old school legitimate sort of off camber section. No idea what the original line and design was here. I would estimate it's been people who've been riding down on this lower edge. Pros and cons really, aren't we, line choice, if we bring that into what line is best on this cambered section. If we go in low here, it ends up tightening up in that left hander behind me, and where that trailer scoured on its exit and got cut in, it's automatically putting you on that inside negative off camber, and you start to get the slip and slide. I've ridden that in the clip. I'm carrying reasonable speed on the way in, and remember, speed's going to sort of dictate which of the lines you use. You're going to need a bit of pace to stick to this banking and to use this. Now you'll notice in the clip I'm leaning the bike into the banking, and I'm using it as a berm type shape, more so than trying to sit the bike upright and traverse across it with the bike vertical. If I do have the bike vertical, it's going to want to slip out, and that's going to slip me up into the bank, or if I grip up on stuff, it's going to move it potentially always into the banking and up the hill, and I've got to turn left down the hill. So carrying good speed, leaning into that, pushing into that, and yeah, it's opening up the corner. I get good visibility through, and I can drop down the way there using that banking on the outside edge all the way till I run out of support and the bottom part of the turn. Off the brakes, there's no braking really going on here. There's a little bit of deceleration through this, but it's very light, not too heavy on that, probably more control braking than deceleration because of the nature of it. And yeah, that's going to give me the grip and the traction I need on cambers. Same thing there, you know, if you're hard on the brakes, wheels are going to want to slip out from underneath you. If you're just genteel and just trying to manage the speed doing that control braking, that's going to see you right. Right, so here we are on a classic piece of off-camber in more of an open environment. You'll get similar shape, similar line choice, similar thing going on whether you're in the trees, in the woods or out in the open. Typically we're dealing with natural surfaces rather than purpose-built surfaces in some of these scenarios. But here we're on a off-camber on the terrace, just little sort of sheep track, goat track type environment. And we've got to be a bit canny about which line that we choose there. We may not be able to get up on this high line, which has got less camber on it, and we'll be forced lower down the hill where we're turning around the hill and we're really into that off-camber setup. So if we can get used to swapping our lead foot out in order to get our lead foot on the low side of the hill, it does mean we can run cranks level. We've got reasonable crank clearance out of that, but if we get a stump or a lump in there, we can drop that out a foot for clearance, and it's all done on the forwards pedal stroke. We're not pedaling back against ourselves as we looked at previously in cornering. So I've got good weight distribution, and if I need some added grip as well as pedal clearance, bit of an and/or, what I can do is just drop that out a foot down, get more grip, keep the bike length into the hill, trying to keep the body a little bit more upright at that point, and that's going to get the tyre on edge cutting in, give me good traction as you can get that load pointed direct down through the bike and out into the tyre. So let's see what it looks like in action. So something that's typical in a scenario where it's been man or beast that's created the line that we're riding on. They're the one that's walked this and created that ride line for us, rather than us just being off in the thicker grass and potentially coming into holes and hits there, is we'll get lots of these little sort of bulldozer type edges which we can get snagged up on. So the grass is overgrowing that, and it really can hide the ride line. There are things in cambers we've got to be very mindful of, and good footwork, good vision can help you sit on a path that's got enough width for the tyre, and you can get that tyre exactly where you want without clipping and bulldozering edges. However, it's going to be good footwork and good bodywork in general that gets you out of trouble if you do just clip an edge and it wants to push you offline. So you might have to put in a little hop to get out of it. You might have to change your line choice and come down a terrace. However that works, you'll deal with it when you get to it. But it's just something that, you know, you've got to be looking for in the eyes and sort of anticipating all along when it comes down to trails that are being created by man or beast in the hills. Well, so if ever there's been a chance to play with some off-camber, it's been here at Drumlanrig Castle and Estate and up in the Lowther Hills. We've just come back down to Drumlanrig to wrap up our day. We're going to go see Rick at Rick's Bike Shed. If you're ever up in this world, do come and check out Drumlanrig. It's often overlooked and the trails here are sweet. You've got to work for it. It is uppy downy stuff, but they do reward those that are technically proficient and prepared to stick their neck out and deal with some roots and cambers and various fun bits. Spectacular. So there you go, that's a look into the world of camber and how we contain that. Join us next edition as we progress our skills, and we'll see you around on the trails. Take care.